Assalamu alaikum students, hope you all are fine. Today I come forward once again to make you learn chapter number 12, motion. So students, what is motion? Something that is in state of motion or something that is in a state of movement is called motion. For example, a boy was running on the road, so you can say the boy is in motion, or a vehicle is running on the road, you can say the vehicle is in motion. So when at times you find a thing is in its moving state, we can say that the object or the thing is in motion. Suppose you are sitting near a window, sit in a train. What you will see when you observe outside at the time when the train would be running, you will see all the trees, all the houses moving along with the movement of the train. So what do you think, students? Are the trees or the houses that you are looking out from the window of the train is in motion or are they in movement? To you it may seem the trees, the houses in motion, but the person who is standing outside the train, to him the trees or the houses would be at rest. So at different times we are able to see different states of motion. When you look at the moon, it does not appear to move, but if you look at it again after 5 hours, then you might see that the moon has changed its position from the earlier place that you have seen. So what do you think? Is the moon is having movement? Yes, the moon too moves. So you know that it has moved slowly during the 5 hours when you were not looking at it. When you were not looking at it, the moon has moved during that very 5 hours. But the movement of the moon is very slow, which you will not be able to understand. At the time when you will go on observing at the moon, it may seem that it is at one place, but it is having a movement around the earth. If you stand at the center of a circular track and watch the athletes who are running around you, they will be in motion in relation to you, even through their distance from you remain the same while they are running. Suppose you are standing at the center of a field and the athletes are running around you. When you watch the athletes, what you will see is that the athletes are having their positions change, they are having a motion, but the distance that you measure for each and every athlete would remain the same. So these are some of the situations or examples that we face at the time when motion occurs. Two things you need to remember: that motion is always relative. Something that appears to be in motion in relation to one observer may appear to be at rest in relation to another observer. So motion is relative. As I have given the example of the person who is sitting in the train, at the time when the train was running, the person had observed that the trees, the houses, everything were moving. But the person who was standing outside the train, to him all the trees and the houses were at rest. So motion is relative in such situations. The second point that you need to remember is something is in motion if its position with respect to the observer changes with time. At times, if you have if you want to determine that the object is in motion, then you might try to understand it by seeing at what position the object has reached. For example, a vehicle was running on the road. It has started from point A and it has moved to point B. So at first the vehicle was at point A, and when it has started moving, it has started moving towards point B. So when the vehicle will reach point B, it will be clear to us that it has changed its position from point A to point B. So at that time we can say that something was in motion or something is in motion if its position changes with respect to time. Now students, we are going to discuss the different types of motion. You can see on the board I have written linear motion is a type of motion in which the object always follows a straight line or a straight path. For example, if you stand at the roof of a house and throw a ball at the downward direction, towards the downward direction, then what will happen is that the ball, it will follow a vertical direction, straight downwards. That means it will move straight down following a straight line or path. So an object having such a motion in a straight path or straight line can be called as linear motion. Under this linear motion, we have another motion what is called as curvilinear motion. Now if you take the example of a boy who has a ball in his hand and you have asked the boy to throw the ball on the sky. So what he will do is that he will take the position and throw the ball right upwards towards the sky. So when he will throw the ball, at first the ball will follow a curved path. At first the ball will follow a curved path, and at the time when the ball is about to fall on the ground, it will follow a straight path towards the ground. So here in such types of situations we are able to observe two different types of motion, that is curvilinear motion and linear motion. So when a object follows two types of motion at the same time, it can also be called as linear motion or translatory motion. Our second topic regarding the types of motion is rotational motion. What you have seen when you have visited some fairs? You might have seen a Ferry wheel, or you might have seen a seesaw, or many different types of things you have seen. People sitting on the Ferry wheels, they used to move round and round. So these Ferry wheels are examples of such motions known as rotational motion. If you talk about the fan that you have in your rooms or your houses, these fans, at the time when it moves, it follows rotational motion. So the turning of merry-go-round, a Ferris wheel, a fan, a potter's wheel, and the blades of food processor, all these are examples of rotational motion. At the time of rotational motion, what happens is that the body stays in the same place, but it moves around an axis passing through itself. For example, you consider a Ferris wheel. You consider a Ferris wheel somewhat like this. This is the Ferris wheel. You can consider people are sitting in all these places. So when the Ferris wheel will move, or where it will have a motion, what will happen is that it will follow its own axis. It will follow its own axis, but it will not, the pupils will not have any changes in position. So such a motion can be called as rotational motion. Our next type of motion is circular motion. Circular motion usually takes place in a circular path. If you take an example of a toy car or a toy train moving in a circular track, so the toy train which will be moving in a circular track can be considered as circular motion. When a body it moves around a circular path, the way the earth moves around the sun or the moon moves around the earth, all these can be considered as examples of circular motion. At the time of circular motion, what happens is that the position of the body does not change from the center of the track. You consider this point as the center of the track. The distance between the motion of the object in the circular track will always remain the same, but they will be having changes in position. Our next topic regarding the types of motion is oscillatory motion. Students, you have seen a pendulum clock. So this pendulum clock has got a long handle hang on the clock which always keeps on oscillating to and fro. So this pendulum which is hung at the clock of the pendulum at the clock has a kind of motion called as oscillatory motion. This pendulum it always keeps on oscillating to and fro, and the to and fro motion of the pendulum is also called as oscillatory motion. At the time when the pendulum oscillates, it covers fixed distance at fixed intervals of time. So when any event or any motion that occurs at fixed intervals of time, it is said to be periodic. So we can say that oscillatory motions are periodic if it occurs at fixed intervals of time. And when we defined oscillatory motion as the periodic motion of body about its position of rest, or the to and fro motion that a body repeats after the position of rest about a fixed interval of time, then the motion is said to be oscillatory motion. Now, our next topic regarding the types of motion is periodic motion. What is periodic motion? Just now I have discussed about the term periodic. When any motion or any event that occurs at fixed intervals of time, it is described as periodic motion. There are many examples like the oscillations of a swing. The oscillations of a swing, you know, sing song. So when the oscillations that takes place in a swing, it follows a periodic motion. The vibration of the string of a musical instrument, the rotation of the earth, and also the movement of the moon around the earth. All these are examples of periodic motion. Sometimes what happens is that different kinds of motions also takes place at the same time. As students, you all are sitting at one place right now. So if you go out, you can see a person is walking on the road, or you can see an animal is also moving on the road, or you can see the fan which is moving on your house. So they are following different types of motion at the same time. Different things are having different types of motion at the same time. Often a body has different kinds of motion at the same time. The earth rotates about its axis while revolving around the sun. A ball rolling down a street, and the wheels of bicycle rotate and move forward, spinning top rotates, wobbles and moves along the floor at the same time, and so on. Likewise, you can see many objects moving at the same time, and all are having different types of motion. Thank you, class.